I'm here in south central Oregon in the middle of the area that was burned in the big wildfire last year, 2021. That fire that burned a huge area down, spreading towards Klamath Falls in the basin of the Sycan and the Sprague rivers, and the Klamath, eventually flow into the Klamath. It's a big fire, really big fire, and I've been thinking about it because there are two things that I know. One is that wildfire is natural. It's very important, in fact. These pine trees here are dependent on fire for regermination. Their cones actually won't open unless there is fire. So oftentimes in the Intermountain West, you have these landscapes, these natural communities that are very fire adapted. They need fire. And when fire moves through, it actually ends up benefiting the natural community in the long term. So this area that I've been hanging out in for the last couple hours is regenerating pretty well in many of the areas. It burned intensively, very hot. You can see on the other side of this creek over here, very intense, basically burned down to mineral soil. Killed every tree on that side in this area over there. The second thing that I know about fires is that global warming is making them worse. Fires are primarily climate driven. And that means when you have hotter and drier conditions with stronger winds, you're going to get more intense, bigger wildfires. I guess the third thing I know is that 9 out of 10 wildfires are started by humans, by people flicking a cigarette out of the car, by somebody leaving a campfire unattended, by an arsonist, by somebody playing with fireworks, by electric lines going down in a storm. The intensity and the speed and the severity of wildfires that we are seeing now is driven by human beings, between the global warming aspect and between the human ignition aspect. And I've been thinking a lot lately, for a couple years now, about this whole issue of fire, because I think it's a situation where people put their mental energy in the wrong place, because people focus on the fire as if the fire is bad, as if the fire is the problem. But fire is a natural part of these lands. Fire is essential, in fact. Where we need to focus our energy is on those aspects where humans are influencing the situation negatively, where we are exacerbating the fires because of global warming and because of human-caused ignitions. That is where we need to put our intensity. And this is an issue that I feel important about. I've been struggling to articulate it because it's so easy for people in this anthropocentric culture to fall into the trap of blaming the natural world, of saying, these hurricanes, these tornadoes, these floods, these wildfires, all of these natural disasters are terrible. They're evil things. They're striking us. They're attacking us. They are damaging us, harming us. And of course, these things can be very destructive. The natural world is full of that process, right? But I think we need to put our attention, our energy, our emotion towards the correct target here, because these natural disasters are increasingly becoming unnatural disasters that are created and fueled by industrial civilization, by the destruction of the natural world, by runaway global warming, by the feedback loops triggered as we go deeper into ecological collapse. So I just want to send this message out to people that fire as such is not our enemy. Fire as such can be a beautiful thing, a thing of regeneration. And, as I'm walking through this riparian zone along this little creek here, I'm seeing the willows and the aspens regenerating. I'm seeing pine trees germinating out of the soil. I'm seeing the lush wetland areas where the beavers have put up dams and protected those wetlands. I'm seeing wildlife and tracks of different animals coming and going. birds in the trees. These areas will regenerate. They will come back to life and be lush and biodiverse again, but only if we stop the root of the problem that they are facing, which is not wildfire. It is industrial civilization. It is a culture that is driving the destabilization of the planet's climate, that is causing wildfires to be lit all over the place unnecessarily, that is logging these forests and leaving them in an ecologically degraded state, that is sending in huge herds of cattle to these areas and overgrazing them in many cases, trampling the riparian zones, harming the ability of the soil to regenerate, eating up the young seedlings coming up out of the ground before they have a chance to establish themselves. This is where we need to put our attention.